Hello there, very good evening to you. Thanks for joining us here on M7, My Mind Matters. This is a broadcast, a podcast that's designed to help you think about your own mind and just how important that is. And of course, it is our mind that can make our life fantastic. It's our mind that can make our lives miserable because it's all the thoughts that we think, it's what's going on in our head. Now, tonight, we're going to specifically focus on the past and the future because our mind often keeps us in a very negative place because we're thinking about the past and what's happened to us and how bad things were and how awful it was. And that could be anything from a relationship breakup, getting fired from a job, being made redundant. It could be just a small incident that happened, but you can't let it go. And of course, it could also be from childhood. It could be something awful that happened to you, something traumatic, and you just keep thinking about it and reliving it over and over and over again. The techniques that I'm going to share with you tonight will help you to reduce the impact of you thinking about the past. But it isn't just the past. We often think about the future and we start to create stories about what could happen to us, what will happen to us. And of course, that doesn't necessarily have to be true. We create stories. Oh, this is going to happen. Oh, it's going to be so bad. Oh, I'm going to lose my house. Oh, I'm going to go broke. Oh. And the stories get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And the longer we focus on them, the more likely they are to get bigger and bigger and bigger and consequently become more and more frightening. Now, with a little bit of control, with a little bit of attention, with a little bit of focus, we're able to diminish the power of the past. I'm not saying forget it. I'm not saying it never happened. It's just that we start to use those thoughts or become aware of those thoughts, recognize those thoughts, and then we remind ourselves that we don't have to go down that rabbit hole. We don't have to spend the next half an hour thinking about it and getting ourselves all wound up and upset and anxious and nervous and stressed out. So once we identify that we're thinking about those things and they're destructive, then we take the opportunity to get back on track and think about the now. Or if it's the future, you're worried about your future, maybe it's uncertain at the moment. Perhaps it's an important occasion coming up. It could be a job interview and that's stressing you out because it's so important to you. It could be a review at work and they're going to tell you if you've got a promotion or not, or how well you're doing, or perhaps you've been there for 3 months and it's a probationary period. There's all sorts of occasions that it could be, and we stress ourselves out. Again, this is exactly the same philosophy. We've got the opportunity to control our mind, to take control of our thoughts and diminish them, just to put them into a much better perspective. Ask ourselves, is this true? Did this really happen? Or will this really happen? I'm not saying it's not a possibility. I'm not saying it couldn't happen, but there's no need to stress ourselves out and get ourselves completely and utterly exasperated and falling apart and making a big scene out of something that may not even happen. An example I often like to use is when the boss calls you up and says, come and see me tomorrow at 9 o'clock. And you start thinking about all the things that you've done in the last week. What could it be? What could it be? What could it be? And actually, when you get there the next day, they're telling you what a brilliant job you've done. You've had some great reviews recently. And in fact, they'd like to offer you more money, even a promotion. But our mind can work against us. And so our mind can be our best friend. It can also be our worst enemy. And that's what we're going to be identifying tonight. Now, for those of you that are new to My Mind Matters, it's called M7 because it's Mondays at 7. That should make it easy to remember, M7. And we do 3 things week after week after week after week. Now, try to shake them up a little bit so that you get to pick up on lots of different techniques, but it's the same 3 tools and they're very much connected. If you're familiar with the term mindfulness, then breath work is often classed as part of mindfulness. And then we're going to meditation at the end, and that's often called a mindful meditation. And right in the middle, I will focus on mindfulness. Now, I like to break them up into 3 distinct tools. So you can use any one of them at any time. You could use all 3 together if you wanted to. It's absolute choice. The first one I focus on is breath work. And the reason that I like to do that is because it's something that we can all do. We all breathe anyway, right? If you weren't breathing, you wouldn't be listening. So it's really easy to do. What sets this apart from regular breathing is the fact that you become conscious of it. You become aware of it. And so by becoming conscious of your breathing now, if you realize that you're panicked, you could slow it down, and that can change your physiology. That can change the way you feel, which is really important. And that could be great if you're going into an important meeting. That could be great if you're going into an interview. That could be great if you're getting wound up by your partner or somebody important to you and you're trying to bite your tongue, but you can feel the triggers going off and you may well explode with anger. The breathing can really help you to control that. And it's not something that people have to know about. You can breathe in and out consciously, very, very carefully, and without making it a big deal. You don't have to make a big breath. You don't have to make a big noise about it. You can literally be in a meeting while the other person talking. You can be consciously breathing to control your energy. Then we take a little bit of a deeper dive. We'll be doing mindfulness. Now, again, these are terms that people have often heard of, and so they may have preconceptions. If you've done mindfulness in the past, I may align with what you do, I may not. It might be a different way than what you're accustomed to. But ultimately, mindfulness has become more and more and more popular. I'd say certainly in the last decade, and in fact, it's even now taught in many, many corporations, many companies like to get their staff involved with mindfulness because it can help reduce stress. So mindfulness basically is taking the opportunity to use your five senses to distract yourself from your thoughts. You're literally directing your thoughts onto something else. So there are many, many, many techniques that we've used. We've already done using your sight with your eyes open. You can use mindfulness to focus on something, look at it in great, great detail. And by focusing on that now, you can imagine what the texture might be like. You can see various shades. You can see the shapes in it. And so this is a big distraction from thinking about the past. This is a big distraction about thinking about the future and all the things that can happen. It gives you a chance to connect to the current moment, often called the now, living in the now, being in the now. These are all terms that have become very, very widespread and very popular these days. And then we go into meditation. And meditation is something I certainly heard about back in 1992, 1993. And I haven't been practicing it ever since. It was very difficult for me to get into at the time. I thought it's quite esoteric when I first heard about it, something out there, kind of hippie-like. But over the past decade, I've focused more and more and more on it. And I've certainly found it to be very useful in keeping my own life in balance. Yeah, because even if you do become a master of mindfulness, a master at meditation, you will still find that you can get triggered. And if you're not careful, you can get caught off guard. I shared some examples last week or the week before of when I got caught off guard. My youngest son knocked over a glass of red wine all over my shoes, and for a moment, I was triggered. I was annoyed. But with practice, you can learn to bounce back much faster. You can become far more resilient. And eventually you may even get to the point where you're like, whoa, it doesn't even matter. Who cares? And the fact is, hey, it didn't really matter. And I thought my shoes were going to get stained, and they didn't. So there was all sorts of things, again, stories that creating in my own head. And there was no need for any of it because it all turned out to be untrue. Okay, let's get started. I do find that these, I used to go an hour, I'll make this clear to you. I used to go for 1 hour, but if you go over an hour, then it doesn't allow me to post this on Facebook, doesn't allow me to post it again on Instagram. And so I like to keep it beneath the hour. I have been meaning to put a little head start on it and a little closing on there. I'm going to try and get that done this week. Just like an introduction so you know what's coming in it, and it helps you get ready for the show, as it were. I actually like to think of it more of a workshop because we often say words don't teach, and the fact is I can talk to you all night long. If it's not going in, if you don't experience it, then you don't really understand what I'm talking about. So by calling this a workshop, by making it interactive, by giving you the opportunity to do some of the things that I'm talking about, I hope you get to experience it tonight. And maybe you find some peace tonight. Maybe you find that your mind calms down tonight. Maybe you feel the satisfaction of being able to control your mind to a small degree. And with practice, it gets better and better and better. Every week, I will always remind you That this is something you can do once a week. And if you just come to M7, that will be helpful. But if you really want to become empowered, then it's even better to do this every day. So you could watch one particular video for an entire week, just watch it every day. Or you might decide that you're going to do one technique each day, maybe breathing in the morning, maybe mindfulness in the afternoon, and meditation in the evening. It's all about choice, but the more you do it, the better. Okay, let's get started with breath work. So first thing I'd like to do is close your eyes, get nice and comfortable in your chair. Best to be sitting. You can lie down if you prefer, but I always think that if you do lie down, there's a very good chance that you will fall asleep. Now, hey, let's face it, if sleeping is something that you could do with a little more of, then why not lie down? And why not nod off? Why not take the opportunity to really rest and relax and catch up on some sleep? And you can always watch the broadcast afterwards, or you can listen to the podcast afterwards. Everything's available to you on engagewithsuccess.com and click on the resources button. Okay, let's get started. Eyes closed, get comfy. If you're not comfortable at the moment, just have a little wiggle around. Take the opportunity to straighten your back, have a little stretch if you can. Feet on the floor. You can be with shoes, without shoes. You can be with socks, without socks. It really doesn't matter. All of this is about the breath work, and it's all about being comfortable. So again, I like to call this conscious breathing because we breathe anyway, but this is about becoming very much aware of your breathing and then becoming conscious of it and controlling it. So at this point, I'd like you to take a nice deep breath in through your nose for 1, 2, 3. Hold on to it for 1, 2, 3. And let it out for 1, 2, 3. Now take a deep breath in for the count of 4. For 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold on to it for 1, 2, 3, 4. And let it out for 1, 2, 3, 4. And now let's go for 5. Breathing in through the nose for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold on to it for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And let it out for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, now I just want you to breathe at your own pace. So rather than being consciously breathing, and that's controlling your breath, allow the breathing to do its own thing and you just become aware of it. So be aware of your breathing, but don't control it. And whilst you're doing that, pay attention to your thoughts. See where your mind goes. There's no right or wrong here. Just see where your mind takes you. Are you thinking about the day? Are you thinking about the rest of the evening? That'll be the past or the future. Or are you thinking much further back? Something happened a week or 2 weeks ago, a month ago, a year ago, decades ago, and you're thinking about that? Or are you worried about what might happen in a week's time, 2 weeks' time? What's going to happen next month? Going to. Again, I just want you to be aware of where your thoughts are. Breathing in at your own rhythm, in and out, as works best for you. Breathing in and breathing out. Now, if you can, try to focus on the here and now. Try to focus perhaps on the music or focus so intently on your breathing, just being aware of it, that you're in the present moment. And this can be very powerful, because right here, right now, whilst you're sitting in your chair, listening to me, everything's good. With your eyes closed, everything is great. And so this leads us to the fact that we live in two worlds, the outside world and the inside world. And the outside world generally gets our attention all day long. And that can be frazzling. That can really fry our minds. And it's all of our attention to what's going on around us that helps us to create stories about what might happen or what did happen. So really, to get a healthy balance, I want you to think about following these guidelines. First of all, when you think about the past, or if you realize you're thinking about the past, try to do that in small doses. Try not to do that for more than a minute or so. Just bring your attention back to your breathing. And if you are going to focus on the past, try to do it for a reason. You might want to relive a really pleasant experience. Maybe you're trying to identify where something went wrong, a relationship, a falling out with somebody, how you did something. Maybe there's something in the past that can really help you to change the way you're living today. But again, you don't want to spend too much time there, because you start to create stories. It starts to make you feel emotional, and that could be very negative, and that could have an impact not just on the way you feel now, but even on your health. And then, of course, there's the future. And you may find one day it's the past, another day it's the future. It could even change from minute to minute. And all of this is very typical. So please don't feel like you're unusual. Please don't feel like you're strange. This is the way life works. We're all swimming in a sea of thought. But we're very fortunate that we have the ability to recognize that. We have a consciousness that allows us to pay attention to those thoughts. So if you're thinking about the future, I also recommend you do that in small doses. Try to think of something that's healthy. Don't be panicking about the future and creating stories and scenarios that may or may not happen. What's the point in that? It's only going to increase your anxiety. That's only going to increase the stress that you're experiencing. So don't spend time worrying about the future. I'm not saying never think about it. You certainly do that, but just think about it long enough to prepare for it, and then move on as soon as you can. So right here, right now, bring your attention back to the present moment. This is really where you want to be the vast majority of the time. Now, you are going to realize when you try to practice this on your own, perhaps tomorrow or the day after or a week later, you realize that this is all easier said than done. This is a skill. This is a practice. But oh boy, is it worth doing. So the more attention you give it, the more you practice, a little bit like going to the gym. The more you do the reps, the more you do the sit-ups, the more you lift the weights, the bigger you become. And this is true of your neural pathways, working them again and again and again and again, and your ability to control your own thinking. Bring it back as soon as you can. Okay, let's just do a couple more nice deep breaths. In through the nose for 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold on to it for 1, 2, 3, 4. And let it out for 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathe at your own pace for a moment. I'm now going to get you to make some noise when you breathe out. Now, if you're on your own or nobody can hear you, it's going to be a lot easier. I cannot see you. I cannot hear you. So please don't think that it's going to come through here. I use the live platforms so that I cannot see you and I cannot hear you. You're completely and utterly at peace at home. But of course, you might have neighbors. You might have the kids next door. You might have your partner in another room. But I'm going to ask you to make a noise. It can be as simple as just allowing the air to pass through your mouth noisily, like. But you might want to do something a little more primeval and let it out that ah. And if you have got the ability, if there is no one around, then even louder ah. Let it out. And that's only if you're anxious, if you're wound up. If you're not, then maybe you don't feel like doing that. Don't just do it because somebody's saying do it. But if you are wound up, if you are tense, if you are stressed, if you are anxious about the future or something about the past is driving you crazy, let it out as best you can. So come on, let's breathe in for 5. In through the nose for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold on to it for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And let it out for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now on the letting it out, that's where you go, or you have this deep primeval scream. Let's do it one more time so you get a chance to practice that. So when I say out, that's when you make the noise. In through the nose for 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold on to it for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And let it out making a noise for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, just for a moment, breathe in and out as your body wants to. Just paying attention to it, just being aware of how your breathing is. You can put your hand on your chest, you can feel your chest moving up and down. You can put your hand on your belly and feel your belly going up and down. Now bear in mind, you're doing it today in the comfort of your home or wherever you may be. You may well be alone, but you can do this with your eyes open. You can do this with other people around you. You can be breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth, and no one has to know. And that's where this technique can be very, very powerful. Okay, when you're ready, open your eyes and just continue breathing at your own pace. So that's the breath work. Now we're going to take a little bit of a deeper dive. We're going to go into mindfulness. And again, I like to use the 5 senses as a distraction to get away from the past or the future. Now you might be wondering, why do I keep thinking about the past? Let me share this with you. It's important. The vast majority of us are estimated to have 40 to 60,000 thoughts per day. In fact, some neuroscientists are now saying it can be as many as 90,000 thoughts in a day. That's a lot of thoughts. I mean, that is constantly thinking. Now, where do you think the vast majority of those thoughts are? Past, present, or future? Where do you think? The vast majority are the past. In fact, it's said to be 90% of our thoughts are in the past. That might be 5% for the future, 5% for the now. And so it's the past that keeps bringing us back. It's almost like we're chained to the past. That's the difficulty that we've got. So if we're thinking about the past and all these things that happened to us and how tough it was, listen, if you're thinking about the past and they're great memories and they're wonderful things, you're thinking how great it was, that's fantastic, especially if it can help you move forward. But even if you've got fantastic thoughts about the past and you're living in the past, that's not going to help you move forward. And it's forward that we want to be going. Having this compelling future is what's really going to help you to get excited. Having this compelling future is really what's going to help you to move forward and enjoy the life that you want to. But most importantly, your power is in the now. Right here, right now. Now, we think about the past a great deal because what we're trying to do, or our brain is trying to do for us, is keep us safe. And so we can learn from past experiences. And again, that's fine if we do that now and again. That's fine if we just use it as a reference. But if we're living in the past, that is holding us back. So you need to be here, right now. And the beauty of right here, right now, even if you're thinking about the future, is that you've got the opportunity to make choices. So right here, right now, you can decide not to do anything. Right here, right now, you can decide to make a move. Right here, right now, you could make a step in the right direction. You could apply for a job. You could be looking for the work that you're after. You could be telling someone you love them. Right here, right now is the power. And that's why the present moment, living in the now, has become such a popular term. And again, if you think about it, right here, right now, the chances are everything's good. Everything's fine. But if you start to create an untrue story of the future, that can be devastating. And if you start to create lots of fear because of what happened in the past, that can be very devastating. And you often hear the acronym FEAR, FEAR, false expectations appearing real. What's the importance of that? Well, expectations can become self-fulfilling prophecies. Expectation is a very powerful tool to use. In fact, I should do a whole broadcast on expectation. But the fact is, if your expectations are false expectations appearing real, like she might leave me, he might leave me, I might lose my job, what if, that can be debilitating. And perhaps you don't move forward. Perhaps you don't go for that promotion. Perhaps you don't go for that pay rise. Perhaps you don't ask somebody out on a date. Perhaps you don't do that important presentation to the rest of the team. Perhaps you don't take the opportunity to put your hand up and say, I'll do that. And you get noticed by the boss. So just think about it for a moment. Living in the now is so powerful. So let's use our 5 senses to bring us into the now. Without doubt, for the vast majority of the planet, the most important of the 5 senses is vision. Your vision is far more likely to get your attention than your hearing, than your sense of touch, your sense of smell, and your sense of taste. In fact, it's smell and taste are the lowest parameters, the lowest percentages. They are tiny little bits that get your attention. Obviously, if you're going to go and have a hot curry or something and that's piping hot, or it's really lots of chili in there, that may well get your attention. But generally, it's what we can see that gets our attention. And this is why visualization is such a powerful tool as well. You've probably heard of visualization. I did do a podcast on that a few weeks ago. So feel free to go to YouTube channel, Engage with Success, or to go to engagewithsuccess.com and hit on resources, and you can see podcasts and broadcasts in there. Okay, let's take the opportunity to close our eyes now. Get comfortable in the chair, feet on the floor, hands on the top of your legs. And let's do a little bit of mindfulness. We're going to do this first one with our eyes closed. With our eyes closed. Take a moment to think about the room that you're in. Try to visualize it as best you can. If you're in the bedroom, can you, in your mind's eye, with your eyes closed, can you imagine the bed? What's it like? How many pillows are on there? You've got scatter cushions on it. What colours is it? What's the pattern on the duvet? What's the headboard look like? Maybe you're in the lounge. So do the same with an armchair or a sofa or the curtains. Just try to use your mind's eye to remember what's in that room, wherever you are. Now think about the richness of the colours in that room. What's the predominant colour in the room you're in? Is it some sort of blue or red or brown or grey? Magnolia? Is it white? What's the predominant colour? And again, you're doing this with your eyes closed. You're just using your imagination to remember what something looks like. Now use your imagination to remember what that texture might feel like. So for example, if it was a duvet, is there a texture to it? Could you feel the cotton? Or is it woolly? Maybe it's the headboard you want to think of, or perhaps it's, if you're in the lounge, the sofa. Is it a fabric? Has it got a pattern in it? Is it a jacquard weave? Or is it a leather or a pleather? And you could imagine right now not only the texture, but you could imagine the coolness of the fabric, the material it's made from. Okay, let's move our journey now to our hearing. Turn the music off in the background. So just for a moment, listen to the sounds in the background. In fact, try to listen to the furthest away sound possible. Can you hear outside the window? Is it traffic? Is it people walking past? Is it kids having fun? Is it birds chirping? Is it planes in the sky? I'm going to stop talking so that you can hear. You're probably sitting at home going, if you stop talking, I'll be out of here. Okay, now bring your attention inside the room that you're in. And what's the closest sound to you? In my case, it's definitely the fan on my laptop. Maybe you can even hear that with the music off. You might be able to hear it whirring in the background. Maybe you can hear a television next door. Maybe you hear people talking. Maybe it's the neighbour's TV. Maybe there's a clock in the room. A clock that ticks is really great for meditation. Helps you focus just on the ticking and the talking. Very enjoyable. Okay, let's go to our sense of smell. It's probably one of the hardest. This is why it's such a small percentage when it comes to impact on your thoughts. Can you smell anything? Can you smell your partner? Maybe they've been in the room. Maybe there's a fragrance from yourself. Perhaps you can smell the dinner cooking. Is it a curry? Is it the oil from the chips that are frying? What can you smell? And then finally, let's go to our sense of touch. With your hands on your legs, why not feel the fabric on the garment you're wearing over your legs? Is it a skirt? Is it a dress? Is it a pair of jeans, a pair of trousers? Just feel the fabric. Now notice if they feel hot, if they feel cold. What's the temperature of the fabric? Is it soft? Is it bumpy? Is it perfectly smooth? Can you feel the weave of the fabric, the cotton, the wool, whatever it may be? Just paying incredible attention, focusing completely and utterly on touch. Okay, for the last part of this, I want you to open your eyes when you're ready. Take the opportunity to open your eyes and just look at your palm of your hand. Just look at your hand and start to look at all the lines that you might be able to see on it. Focus intently on your hand. Work your way up the thumb, the fingers, attention to your wedding band or rings or jewelry if you're wearing any. And then go beyond the big creases in your hands. See if you can see the tiny little ones. The ones that make our hands or our fingerprints so unique, so distinct. And curl your hand up. Just pay attention to those lines. Up and down. Up and down. Okay, that's mindfulness. So when you're ready, just come back into the room. So again, the great thing about this is it gives you a chance to be in the current moment, being in the now, rather than focused on the future, focused on the past. And if you combine the mindfulness techniques with some breathing, maybe do the breathing first, and then pay attention either with your eyes or with your ears or with your sense of touch, with your taste, with your smell, just take a moment. Now you can do this any time of day. Taste, great if you're eating breakfast or lunch or dinner. And take your time, slow down. You might even find that you eat less because you're paying more attention to the flavor, the texture of the rice in your mouth, the flavor of the curry that's in your mouth, or the fish, or whatever it may be. Some of the vegetables might be crunchy, some are really soft. And you often find that the taste is even better when you focus on it, chocolate especially. I'm a big savory fan, so for me it's peanuts, chili nuts. It could be what they call those dry roasted nuts. I enjoy those too. All sorts of things, but you pay attention to it, you might find that it's far more enjoyable. Okay, we're going to go now on to meditation. Now tonight, I've purposely got as quickly as I can through the breath work and the mindfulness so that we can take a deeper dive on the meditations. The last few weeks, we've only spent probably 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes on meditation. I'm going to give you a much deeper dive tonight because I like to shake things up, do things slightly differently. And then next week, I'm certainly going to be shaking things up even more. So if you have been participating in the last few weeks, then you can expect lots of new techniques next week. Okay, meditation. Again, if this is something that you've tried in the past, maybe you said, oh, I can't do it, I'm no good at that. If that's because your mind wanders, that is completely and utterly typical. It's ordinary, it's usual, it's to be expected. That is not a fail. That is how the mind works. So just bring it back, recognize it, realize it, bring it back, and then try to focus on my words again. And if that happens again, don't worry about it. Just bring it back as soon as you can. If it happens again, just bring it back as soon as you can. Okay, let's get started. So close your eyes, put your hands on the top of your legs, get very, very comfortable. Shake out your spine if you need to. Have a little stretch. We're going to go for about 15 minutes tonight on the meditation. So, as we usually do, I want you to bear in mind that there could be 3, 4, 5, 6 inches in front of you, a tiny little sunshine, about the size of a ping pong ball. And it's just rotating gently round and round and round. And the heat is coming off of that little sunshine, 4, 5, 6 inches in front of you, and you can feel the heat on your eyes. That's a good heat. That's a lovely heat. That's a loving heat. It feels good. It feels relaxing. And allow that light to build up now, creating 2 pools over your eyes. A little pool of light over the left eye, a little pool of light over the right eye. It's building up and building up. It's very soothing, it's very relaxing. And now allow that light to penetrate through the eyelids and surround or envelop the eyes. If they're sore, if they're tired, you've been on a computer all day or been driving all day, imagine that light now just soothing everything, relaxing everything, healing everything. Feels really good. Now take that energy, that light up onto the bridge of the nose. As it makes its way up, get it onto the forehead now and allow it to spread out to the left and the right of your forehead. And let that light go as far as the temples. And imagine it now massaging your forehead. If you've been stressed, if you've had a tough day, if you've got a little bit of a headache, imagine that light massaging, soothing your forehead. If you need to, give yourself a little head massage, forehead massage. Put your thumbs over your temples, your forefingers meet in the middle of your forehead, and just move your fingers around gently. Now take that light up onto the top of the head. Again, you can use your fingers if you want to really imagine it, almost like being in a beauty salon or a hair salon and getting a head massage. Massage your own head if you like to. And just in your mind's eye, imagine the light coming up over the top of your head, soothing, relaxing, helping you feel really, really good. Continue with that energy now and bring it over the top of the head, onto the back of the scalp, coming down the back of your head, down to the back of the neck. And the back of the neck's often where we get tension. If we've had a tough day, if we've been wound up, things aren't going our way, we can hold it in the shoulders. Try to shake it out. Physically move your shoulders if you need to. Shake it out. Now imagine that light making its way down the right arm, over the shoulder, the light on the outside of the arm, over the forearms, coming down over those biceps and triceps, down towards the elbow, over the forearm of your right arm, into the wrist, and onto the wrist. And make its way into the palm of your right hand. And now 5 beams of light come out through the right hand. Let's do the same on the left, taking that energy, that white light, golden light, into the left hand shoulder, coming down over the biceps and triceps, into the elbow, rotating around the elbow, coming down over the forearm, into the wrist, from the wrist into the palm of the hand. And now 5 beams of light come out of your thumb and forefingers. Both arms lit up, both arms energized. Now bring the energy from the back of the neck across to the front of the neck and bring it down over your torso. As it makes its way down over your chest bones, imagine it going inside as well, penetrating the skin, making your lungs feel really, really warm and loved and cared for. Same with your heart. Feel the energy going onto the heart, loving your heart. Oh, that feels good. That feels good. Coming down over the belly now. Also inside, so think of the liver, the kidneys, the intestines, all being cared for as that light makes its way down through the front of the belly. And then just take it to the hips and hold it there. Let's take our attention now to the back of the neck and bring the energy down the spine. My mum's listening tonight, a little bit of sciatica going on. Mum, just imagine as you're making this light come down, vertebra, vertebra, vertebra. Imagine it easing that trapped nerve, allowing it to pop out. Just imagine for a moment, when you get up from this meditation, everything is perfect. The pain is gone. As you're making your way down vertebra by vertebra, imagine if you came across the nerve, you said, there it is, I can see exactly where it is. And with your mind's eye, imagine it being removed, being released. Continuing our way down now to the tail of the spine. And now bring the light from the front to the back and have it rotating around your hips. Round and round it goes, around the hips. Relaxing, helping you to chill out. Now taking that energy down towards the groin. Let's focus on the right leg. Bring it through the right buttock into the top of the leg. Rotating on the outside as well as the inside over those giant muscles now. Coming down towards the knee, into the knee. If you've got aches and pains in the knee, allow them to be released. Dissipating into the ether. And then down over the lower part of your leg now, the shins, the calves, into the ankle. From the ankle into the foot, the ball of the foot, the arch of the foot coming forward now over the flat of the foot, and finally 5 beams of light out of your right foot. Let's do the same on the left-hand side, coming down now from the left buttock, over the giant muscles in the top part of your leg. Oh, that feels good. Now from those big muscles into your knee, imagine that energy now, that white light, that golden light spinning around your knee. And from the knee down over the shins and the calves, into the ankle, spinning around the ankle, releasing any aches or pains. And now from the ankle down into the ball of the foot, the arch of the foot, coming forward to the flat of the foot. And now suddenly 5 beams of light out through the left foot. You're feeling very, very relaxed. Just for a moment, imagine being in a hot bath and feeling the energy from that warm water, helping you to feel soaked, helping you to feel rested, relaxed, cared for. Just put a little bit of attention on the current sense of self-love. You're worth it. You're worth it. And now just imagine in your mind's eye how good it feels to know that you're submerged in this light and this energy, from the eyes to the top of the head, down the back of the neck, through the torso, the spine, the hips, the buttocks, each of the legs, past the knees, into the ankles, into the forefoot, coming out through the toes, coming down through the arms, into the hands, 10 beams of light out through the fingers, 10 beams of light coming out of the toes, and you are feeling magnificent. Now take a moment just to imagine a place that will be really restful for you. It could be at the beach, it could be near a stream, it could be in a meadow, it could be in a forest, it could be a rainforest, a tropical forest, it could be on the Serengeti, it could be up a mountain, it doesn't matter, just pick a place, your choice. And imagine laying down on the ground and feeling the earth beneath you. If you're at the beach, imagine the sand or the stones, the pebbles, whichever beach you've got in your mind, imagine it supporting you, holding you. If you're in the woods or near a stream, perhaps there's grass, you're lying on the grass, feel the grass behind you. Maybe feel it tickling your neck. If you're wearing shorts, can you feel it on the back of your legs? If you're in a mountain, perhaps you can feel the rocks beneath you. Are they cold because it's so high up, or has the sun been on them all day long and actually it's quite warm? How does it feel? And now, whilst you're lying there, look up into the sky. What's the sky like where you are today? This is your own sky, so it doesn't have to be cloudy, it doesn't have to be wet, it doesn't have to be rainy, unless you want it to be. If you're at the beach, perhaps it's a beautiful, bright blue sky. You can feel the sunshine And that's what's creating that lovely feeling, that sense of joy as it beams down on you, that warmth all over your body. Maybe you're in the forest and you can hear birds making sounds. Maybe you're beside a stream and you can hear the water trickling down the brook over the stones. Or maybe you're up in the mountains and you can just hear the wind whistling around your ears. Now imagine a bird in the sky. If you're at the beach, it could be a seagull. If you're up the mountains, it may well be an eagle. If you're in the forest or the woods or near a stream, pick the bird that you would like it to be. If it's an exotic forest, it could be a parrot or a toucan. You decide. And just imagine it's paying attention to you right now. It's hovering over you. It's seen you. It's trying to work out if you're dangerous or not. And then it gets a little bit closer. And a little bit closer. And it swoops down. It doesn't touch you, but it gets very close because it's trying to work out what you're all about. Maybe you're even dinner, because, hey, for as far as the bird knows, you may not be breathing. Now it lands beside you. It's really inquisitive. It's getting closer and closer. But it realizes you're breathing. You're okay. So it swoops off back into the sky. Now I want you to imagine another animal. Perhaps if you're at the beach, it could be a crab. It comes to have a look at you. If you're in the forest, it could be a bunny rabbit or a little deer. If you're up the mountains, it may be a goat. It could be a llama. Think of an animal that might want to come and investigate you, to see what you're all about. What are you up to? What are you doing? You can see it looking at you. It's getting closer and closer. It's really interested in finding out what you're all about. It's a little bit closer, and a little bit closer, and a little bit closer. And again, it doesn't touch you. It gets really close. It's investigating, and now it decides to make its journey and disappear off into the woods, off into the sand, off into the mountains. And you're lying there completely at ease, totally relaxed, looking up at that beautiful sky. Are there clouds in the sky? Are they white? Are they grey? Are they black clouds? It's going to rain shortly. You decide. There's no right or wrong. This is a place for you to visit where you feel completely and utterly at ease. It feels great. You're loving it. Now, as we come to the end of the meditation, I want you to take a nice deep breath in through the nose for 1, 2, 3. Hold on to it for 1, 2, 3. Let it out for 1, 2, 3. Breathing in through the nose now for 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold on to it for 1, 2, 3, 4. And let it out for 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, just for a moment, breathe at your own pace. You're really, really comfortable. You're very, very relaxed. And the moment you're ready, open your eyes. How does that feel? Feeling restful, feeling relaxed? Do you see how the way that you're able to drop the thoughts of the past, drop the fear of the future, and just focus on the now? And that's really what the meditation is all about, giving you a chance to rest and relax. Now, there are lots of different ways that you can meditate. I'll go into some of the different ones over the coming weeks. One of the favorite ones is just to listen to a noise in the background. It can be music, but that can take you off on a big journey. It could be something as simple as air conditioning. It could be a clock ticking, something that means nothing to you, but it allows you to focus on the now. There's another big mindfulness meditation where you start to imagine yourself growing and growing and growing and reaching around the earth and perhaps even reaching out into the universe, just giving you a bigger sense of who you are and what you're all about. But these are things that we will go to as we make our way through the mindfulness and the meditations over the coming weeks. Now, if you would like to know more, obviously you've got lots of resources available to you, things like YouTube, Google. You'll find all sorts of information on breath work. You'll find all sorts of information on mindfulness and meditation. There are many, 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 many books available to you as well. If you would like to find some resources, feel free to go to my website, engagewithsuccess.com, and click on the resources button. There's a newsletter there. There's the podcast, the broadcast, all the previous episodes are available to you. And then there's lots of books that I've listed. Some of my favorite books in there that I think can be really, really beneficial. I've listed those as modern books as well as historical books, 100 years of age and older. And I've also got modern teachers and ancient teachers. Again, the ancient will be for 100 years ago and more. So lots available to you. Try to do a little bit of this day in and day out. If you have got any questions, anything comes to mind, thinking, I wish I knew this or I wish I knew that, then feel free to email me. It's info@engagewithsuccess.com. I'd love to hear from you. If you've got any feedback about this, how useful it is, how much you're enjoying it, then I'd love to hear from you as well. Take care of yourself. Be well. Have a brilliant week. And I'll see you next week, Monday at 7 for M7, My Mind Matters.